I was about to take my drink.
It's a good thing you didn't. We wouldn't want to accidentally catch you in the middle of taking a drink. That would be very off-brand for us.
It would be very, very off-brand. Good evening, Brad.
How you doing, Kellen?
You know, Brad, it's been an interesting day. I don't know if you saw, but there was an alleged death in the news today.
An alleged death? I don't think I heard, or maybe I just wasn't paying much attention.
I believe that the media is being fed some false information because today the news reported that John McAfee, my hero,
oh jeez,
supposedly died in a Spanish prison. One,
John McAfee, mean, that would be on brand.
It'd be on brand, but John McAfee cannot be killed, right? John McAfee
it certainly seems likely. If anyone is immortal, it would have to be him.
It would be him.
Just for the poetic irony.
Yes. If you in the audience are not familiar, I know we're coming in hot tonight. John McAfee, you're thinking McAfee. Yes, that's the McAfee antivirus software. He is
it's one of the things.
One of the things. For. Yes. Well, I think you and I know him for the other stuff, but I think most people would know him for the software, not the, gun-wielding, cocaine-taking,
ranting, shirtless, semi-political ads of just I don't even know how to explain the videos.
John McAfee is amazing, and I cannot believe, honestly, I saw the news and I saw it and I was like, that's not true. He faked his own death. This is so he can get away from the cartels. This is so he can get back to Thailand. John McAfee is like, if like Ernest Hemingway was a tech guy and then also he's insane in terms of the things that he was able to do in terms of the amount of drugs and weapons and sex and everything. And he lives his life, as I do believe that he is still alive, so fully and so insanely. And he's also still so smart. I can't believe that he's dead. I cannot believe that he's dead.
I mean, it would take a lot of evidence, or at least some evidence, I guess. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It would take some evidence. But
some evidence.
Kellen, I do have a little bit of a confession to make today. I lied to you. I have lied to you.
Wow.
There is a topic this week. And I'm going to have to update the thumbnail image and you'll understand. I don't think you'll be upset, but you'll understand why I lied to you. Some last minute chaos. And so this week, the topic is going to be anime.
What?
And we happen to have an extremely professional guest.
Are you kidding me, Brad?
That's a Sailor Moon pose. I'm coming in hot on brand.
Carolyn, this is such a wonderful surprise. Oh my God.
Hello,
I feel
gentlemen.
like I'm suddenly too tall now. There we go.
You are.
This is amazing.
I have a halo. I'm actually in heaven. My lighting situation is unfortunate.
Me too.
To say the least. So this was the best I could do. So I apologize for that.
Oh, I'm just thrilled that you're here. I'm so glad that Brad didn't tell me, because if he had, I would have gotten nervous. And now you get to see.
You would have gotten nervous. You've been doing this for months.
I told you, no matter what the rest of the stream is like, Kellen's reaction will be worth the surprise. So it'll,
Oh my gosh.
You set this up very smoothly too.
So I'm just talking to him and I'm like, yeah, what are we doing? We get this. I'm like, oh, cool. This is fine. I'm talking about John McAfee wasting time. We could be talking about anime.
I did not know. Let me go on record as someone who is like, is that the antivirus guy? I'm guessing. I did not know about the cocaine and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Google him, and there's videos that will show up.
I need to.
It's very bizarre.
If we weren't going to talk about anime with you, I would be saying, hey, the last 20 minutes, we're going to watch him ranting.
We could also do that.
We could.
I'm fascinated, frankly. So maybe I would be open to that.
Oh, what a wonderful surprise. What a wonderful, wonderful surprise. Carolyn, thank you for being here. I'm tickled. I'm absolutely tickled. And Brad, thank you for the wonderful surprise. This is great.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of pressure. It feels like a lot of pressure. You guys are very entertaining. And Brad can tell you today, I've done a podcast once, similar format type of thing, and it was work related, and I got the I guess the draft of it from the person I did it with today, and I absolutely hate it. I hate the way I sound. I sound bumbling, and your worst critic is always going to be yourself. So, I told him though she sent me questions beforehand. It was work related. She sent me questions beforehand and then asked me different questions. Bitch, what?
Not fair.
Try to get you. Just
so rude. I was not thrilled. So I'm coming off of that. So we're gonna try and build the confidence.
Well, we're gonna try. You're in luck. I have no questions related to anime tonight, which I think
we could probably come up with.
We can come up with something. We can talk about anything. We can.
I tried to look up some good ones, and it was like, "What's your favorite anime?" Like,
I mean, what's the best anime, and why is it Samurai Pizza Cats? Like,
yeah.
Is that an anime? Are we gonna call it that? See, now we're getting into it.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know. That's what it's like, sort of, kind of, but not really. But
golly. Oh boy, this is just. I'm like in it now. This is great. Okay, Carolyn. Okay, so
it's got to be you guys teaching me about anime, right?
So I want to actually, if you're comfortable, there is one topic I'm very curious about. Since you and I, Kellen, have had some back and forth and hi, Carrie, by the way. Since you and I have had some back and forth in these, via chat, about anime, and we had suggested a few for Brad. Yeah. Since then, I've gotten the 2 a.m. I've been watching some of this, but I don't know what I'm drunk and I can't. And I've heard tale of some that I recognize, some that I did not recognize. So actually, Brad, I'm really interested to understand where you're at in your anime exploration journey.
I love
and we can build from there because that I think, especially for the ones I haven't seen, that I think, which is a lot. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've seen every anime. I certainly haven't, but that I think could be a good jumping off point because some of the ones you found, it seems like at least one of them sounded really odd. So
the Rin one, Daughters of Menazine. I don't even know how to. Whatever.
How did you land there?
What? It was just in a pack of a bunch of random anime that I downloaded, and I was just like, whatever. It's like a detective show that skips through time because she's immortal. It's like, okay, that sounds cool. Like every episode is like a decade in the future or something like that. Like it passes.
Are they all very contained stories? Each episode?
Yes. So there's a contained story and an overarching story that I still don't understand because I'm only 3 episodes in and it's just very confusing. But like it's almost noir-esque in some ways, but like just it's fucking weird. And there's a lot of sex and violence and stuff.
Yeah,
which I was expecting at least some, but it's very strange. But it's good so far. I'm enjoying it. I don't know what the hell the overarching plot is really at all.
I don't think you watch anime for the plot because if you're watching anime for the plot, you're going to get really bored. Like
it's fair.
I'm
enjoying it.
Yeah, I think anime is all about the characters. It's all about the scenes, the action. I mean,
like two of the main characters are immortal, and one so far isn't. So each episode he ages like a decade.
Okay,
it's just.
Weird. I like that.
This makes me think about. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to look it up right now. There's an anime that's entirely about a sniper, and it's every episode is a different. It's this guy. And he's very lone wolf, and he barely speaks. Golgo 13, that's it. Mm-hmm. It's Golgo 13. It makes me think of that because each episode's very independent. And there is a little bit of an overarching story, but mostly it's just watching him be a badass the entire time. In completely unique scenarios. He's the constant thread, but everything else it's almost like every episode is completely contained. It's pretty cool.
That does sound cool.
So that's a good one. Stuff, so that could be fun. Yeah, I mean, he's literally just a sniper, but it just shows him in more and more ridiculous. He's like the best, most epic something sniper. So you see him in increasingly dramatic and ridiculous situations, and you're rooting for him to kill these people. And as one does, and he always gets it. It's great.
That's a smart idea for an anime too, because like him just sitting still and just like the tension building, and he's probably got like you're not seeing his mouth, so it's just his sort of brow sort of sitting there. That's a very a smart way to do something. I like
a lot of times it's also mixed in with the POV of the person he's there to snipe.
Sure.
So it's a lot of like following them, and then you see a little because again he doesn't speak.
Yeah.
So I want to say at all I'd be maybe a couple of words in the entire anime. Like he does not speak. Wow. So it's a really interesting one, but that makes me think of that because it's almost like time doesn't exist. Okay. You don't know these could be autonomous stories. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. But did you watch any of the ones we recommended to you? I'm trying to remember. The big dividing point for Kellen and I was on Evangelion. Yeah. I'm a hard no. In fact, I don't know that you ever need to watch
that yet. I haven't watched
I don't know that you ever need to watch Evangelion.
I did watch a bunch of Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, Ghost in the Shell.
Did you watch the movie first is the key?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
No. And then I'm like, I don't know, 7 or 8 episodes into the series.
It might be confusing. Well, it should make sense, but the movie takes place after the show. So that is a little confusing, but season 1 for sure of Ghost in the Shell is worth watching. Season 2, I've heard people have different feelings.
Yeah, I think it's a line in the sand. You either like it or you dislike it. There's no middle ground in season 2.
Oh, but the woman who arranged the intro, the intro to season 1, that song is like one of my favorite anime songs of all time. Yes. And that same woman is the woman who arranged Cowboy Bebop's intro.
There you go.
Which is the famous iconic one that everyone, talks about.
Even I've seen that.
Yeah. So it's the same woman. And that's that song plus then the season 2. The song's phenomenally good.
It's so funny because people watch Cowboy Bebop and they don't consider it anime because it's so good. They're like, oh, I've never watched anime. Well, have you watched Cowboy Bebop? Well, yeah, I love Cowboy Bebop. Well, what do you mean you don't like anime then? Like,
right? Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Cowboy Bebop is one of those ones that I think is fairly universal. Most people can understand why it's good, even if it's not something like you said where they would consider themselves into anime. I don't know what it is about it. It's depressing and funny, and it's just incredibly well written. I've gotten to the point where I know, and I have not given One Piece a shot, and I don't dislike One Piece. I'm not here to say anything bad about One Piece, but anime that cannot end. I need to know it's over. And if you're past 60 episodes, there better be a reason. There's got to be a reason.
There's 1,000 episodes of the manga. There's a reason why it just goes and goes.
But that's not enough. It just keeps going. No. Well, it's like when you tell a joke so much it gets bad and then it gets good again. When an anime starts to go bad and then they're like, no, but if you catch back up and after episode 300, it starts to get good again.
Yeah. Sounds like almost as long as one fight in Dragon Ball Z.
But like when you think about Dragon Ball, and I think like Dragon Ball and Naruto and One Piece are really good examples of this. Of like, the manga is so good that there's such a huge demand for it that they just start cranking out these episodes. And the reason why Dragon Ball specifically takes so long is because they're waiting for the next issue to come out of the manga, right? Yeah. Like they're stretching it out because they're like, well, we have to make a weekly show and we're just trying to get this to go as far as it possibly can. And I don't know if I recommended this to you before, Brad, but there's a really great tool that I use called Ultimate Anime Filler Guide, where you can put in a show and it'll say, great, here are the core episodes you should watch. Here's all the filler. Here's everything that you can skip. And so I've been going back and watching Naruto and watching One Piece and being like, because I've read a chunk of One Piece as the manga and I love it. I think it's really, really great. But I agree with you, Carolyn. There's a lot to that manga, to that anime specifically, where you're like, there's just nothing happens at all. And the characters are interesting, but your complaint about an anime that never ends, I think, is pretty valid.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that you said, your point about the plot, because for me, I'm what's I lovingly refer to myself as a lore whore. I am somebody who I want the plot. Like I will sit and, like my husband plays 40K. I don't care. But Warhammer 40K. Apologies.
You're talking to Brad. No, you can say 40K.
Okay.
We know what you mean.
Well, for anybody, I shouldn't just assume.
For the two or three people watching, they probably also will know.
For Carrie.
For Jeremy and Carrie.
And Carrie.
Jeremy.
I shouldn't assume. But I'll watch, I found it one of his YouTube, on his YouTube account, I found a channel that he follows that just is like video that's like, let's talk about any of them, like the Eldar, like whatever. Like, let's talk about what happened during the Horus Heresy. Like, and it just, let's explain where we're at and what just happened in the lore. Like 9th edition just came out and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And that I will sit and watch that for hours. I think that's awesome, So for me, there's an interesting thing that always happens when it comes to Brad, when it starts. Anime overwhelmingly comes from manga. It does, there are a few instances where an anime is just made by itself, but most of the time there's so much manga being made. There's just no reason for production companies to invest the time in trying to build a whole new narrative and, let's just go ahead and adapt it. So since that's a well-oiled system, the vast majority of them have a manga associated. What Kellen is talking about will happen in most of them, because what will happen is something will get really popular and then they immediately want to turn it into an anime. And when they catch up to the manga, one of two things happens. They either start building in filler, or three things. They build in filler. They have long breaks in between where just nothing happens because the manga. So Berserk, it's like a great, Berserk just didn't stop. Rip, by the way, R.I.P. Berserk. Maybe it'll be finished. Who knows? And fingers crossed. It's been like 30 years. Or the terrible third option is the manga continues to be published as normally, and the anime producers just make it up and go off this way and do whatever they want, and that never works. It's always terrible.
What I'm hearing here, and let me know if I'm completely off base, because sometimes comparing things with metaphors is not my thing. What I'm hearing is that all anime is Game of Thrones.
I would say that actually Game of Thrones is anime. I think that's what it is.
I mean,
but okay, so I'll say that. Yeah, I didn't love the ending of that either. But they went. I'll give them props. They did a very good job. I will say, if someone asked me, should I read the books? No, I don't think so. You don't need to. I read a bunch. I read the books up until they were published as of 2015. And that, it's like Jon Snow got stabbed. I was like, okay, cool.
That's good.
And that was all I had. And then I watched the show and I was like, oh, this is much better. Yeah. This makes way more sense. It's just better done. And then when the show went off and did it on its own, aside from the ending, which I think he still aligned with, Martin, they did a great job. So I'll give them the credit that's due there. Anime does not do a great job.
No, they don't.
Kenshin's a really good example. My favorite example of that is actually Claymore. I don't know if anyone's watched that.
Oh, I've never watched Claymore. I hear Claymore.
It's on my list.
Read Claymore. Do not watch Claymore.
Do not watch Claymore. Okay.
Do not watch Claymore. They get up. It's perfect. And then they end it instead of an entire third arc. And they end it in the stupidest way that doesn't do anything and doesn't actually explain. It's really bad. So do not watch it. Or if you watch it, please read it immediately after, because basically everything that happens in the North, which would make sense if you watch it, everything that happens like at the end there is it's not real. And it's so disappointing because it is such a phenomenal story, and it continues to be a phenomenal story. And they skip out on all this really great stuff by being like, well, we ran out of manga, so we ended it.
Yeah.
Okay. Baffling decision. I don't know. I'm assuming it had to do with production reasons.
Probably.
It's always money.
Carolyn, since you are our guest, will you tell us the origin story for you and your anime or manga? What was like the way you kind of discovered or got into it?
I think I'd be happy to do that. I think it started very similarly to most American kids who grew up around the 90s, which was after school I came home and Cartoon Network had Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. Yep. And I watched a lot of that. less Dragon Ball Z because, again, a lot of standing and screaming and I didn't care. Mm-hmm. And more Sailor Moon because yay. And, you know, transformations and they're pretty and cool. From there, I think the jump to what we might call actual anime probably happened early high school. And did you ever watch Escaflowne?
No, but I know Escaflowne. Yeah,
that was one of the first ones. That one and Kenshin were the big ones. And Kenshin's the other great example of. I'm sorry, what? After, like, as far as I'm concerned, Kenshin ends after season 2. Yeah. You know, it's just not after that. Yeah, and so that was kind of what kicked it off. What about you?
Very similar, but my brother and I grew up in small town in Oregon, and my brother had a friend who was from Korea, and he would bring over these either VHS cassettes or early DVDs of stuff that he would get from his family in Korea, and we would watch subtitled, you know, all the stuff that wouldn't come over for years. I remember watching Bleach. I remember watching a lot of Gundam, like a lot of like very male sort of stuff. But I didn't actually discover Sailor Moon until much, much later. I remember being like probably 14, 15 and discovering Sailor Moon and saying, how come no one's told me about Sailor Moon? And just absolutely devouring everything about Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was a big, big influence on me just from like this, like Tuxedo Mask as a character, but also Sailor Mercury, Sailor Venus, just all everybody in Sailor Moon, all of it works for me.
Jupiter Forever.
Oh yes, there we go.
Love her.
But I also remember watching a lot of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, like the sort of raunchier, dirtier like anime, like the comedy anime that was on there. Like there was I can't remember what the name of the show was, but it was about a little kid and his parents. And the little kid was like always crass and dumb and always like showing his butt and his balls. And it was like very stupid. And I can't remember.
That sounds familiar, but it's not coming to mind.
Yeah. The weirdest version of Caillou ever.
Yeah.
It's making me think of like Moral Oral, but I'm pretty sure that's not what you mean.
No. Because it rather than Moral Oral, where he's sort of the straight one, the kid was like almost the most zany one and the parents were trying to be the straight ones. It was great. And it was always just a thing for me, already being in comic book stores and, you know, kind of being sort of on the sort of outlier of sort of what media was going to be. Like anime was constantly coming into my life. And I'm so happy that would we say that anime is in the mainstream now or is it slightly off mainstream?
I would say it's in the mainstream. I think anime is a thing that, you know, no one's going to say, or the very few people are going to say, what's that? You know what I mean? And I think it's beyond, I think about the arc of where anime's at versus where K-pop's at, right? Yeah. K-pop's at a point where because of BTS and Blackpink, a few others, but primarily BTS, it's opening that door. And I think that's what Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon were for anime. And I think that the more mainstream adaptation of that, or adoption rather, of that by more of a mass audience will probably follow for K-pop in the coming 5 to 10 years, based on what I've seen from anime, based on our time growing up, because it was a pretty quick, you know, it went from, you had to buy, you know, my husband remembers getting, I want to say it was dubbed or subtitled, like literally VHS tapes from like Blockbuster or somewhere, you know, that were like, or a friend of his knew where you could rip them from, and you know, doing it on a weekly, monthly basis, like going out to get the next one. And then for me, I'm a few years younger than him. It was, I cannot remember the name of the store, but there was a store that we would go to and I could only watch anime if I physically bought DVDs of the anime, you know, or VHS tapes I had to go buy. And there was and now if you go on Hulu, the entirety of Attack on Titan's on there. You know what I mean? Like I'm watching Demon Slayer on there now. Like that's how I discover new stuff. It's pretty easy. So it's very accessible. And especially with this infinite content consumption society that we live in these days, I think it's easier for people to lean that way and fall into it one way or another. Like it took Brad a gentle shove, and now he's
yelling at me
that
about
direction.
a few things not to watch.
Yeah,
like, no matter what you do, don't watch this yet.
Evangelion's really hard. I feel like it was one of those things that you had to watch then, and it had to matter to you then.
Yeah, and
it mattered for the wrong reasons. The same way, like you know how like guys who like Fight Club for the wrong fucking reasons because they didn't get the message of Fight Club. Like when I now as an adult watched Evangelion 2 years ago, and I'm like, I know that I am not watching this and having the same experience as a 13-year-old boy did.
Yeah.
1998. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at Shinji like, I'm gonna murder you. I hate you. Yeah. and I'm sure he felt like such a relatable character to so many teenagers because of
it's the oh gosh. I think I completely agree with you, Carol. I feel like I watch Evangelion today as an adult, and I remember what it was like to watch it as a teenager. It's like Catcher in the Rye, right? That's what Evangelion is for me. It is this sort of like, oh, I remember when I was dumb and I used to feel this way. And
I hated that book from the get-go, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't like that book either, but I think a lot of people read that book when they're teenagers and they're like, oh yeah, this guy's like me. And then you grow up and you're like, oh, no. Yeah, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed that I felt this way.
Someone tells you that stat about what percentage of serial killers put that book as like their favorite book. Yep. You're like, oh
dear. Oh dear. But I mean, it's, it's also, I'm sure there's the same stat of, emotionally abusive men who would say that Infinite Jest is their favorite book as well. Like, I mean, there's plenty of stupid books that way that we could point to. But I feel like Evangelion specifically for me, there was I don't know, Brad. I feel like for you might enjoy Evangelion, just knowing what I know about you in terms of Shinji and just the rest of the characters. You just might be like, I think Brad will understand the message of that show instantly and be able to enjoy it versus everyone wanting to gleam onto the characters and the character arcs and then getting to the end and being like, oh.
Yeah. When you say that, I don't know that I understand the message of that show. I was very much following it as a character study because it just felt like, especially with less Rei, but a little bit Rei, but mostly Shinji, who learned nothing and went nowhere, in my opinion. And then Asuko, who I think actually did have some development. You see these individual people, and actually I forget her name, but the woman, oh my gosh, I forget her name. Don't attack me. The woman Shinji lives with her.
Oh yeah. Okay.
She goes through a ton, and she grows a ton. But in terms of the overarching story, I kept waiting. I was like, stuff's gonna happen. And then that last episode happened, and my husband was like, look, this is not going to be what you want it to be. And Brad, whatever you're thinking, you would never guess. Like you would never be prepared for what an absolute mindfuck the last episode is. It drops the entire plot. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but like the entire plot goes nowhere. Suddenly it's all in Shinji's mind because this thing that you were supposed to be paying attention to in the background finally happened. And there's this whole council of like evil dudes. Don't care. Aliens don't really care. All this other stuff. Major plot to overthrow. Doesn't matter. Forget about it. And then there's like a meta story around this where people were so upset about this final episode. They demanded a fix. So the writer who intended this to be this way the whole time, to him, this was his vision. Yeah. And so for him, he was so mad that no one understood or appreciated his vision, his art, that he did make a new ending, which is a movie. I forget what it's called.
There are 3 movies.
There are 3 movies. Yes, I've seen at least one of them.
And again, Brad, the movies are just the show with the writer about to tell you what Carolyn is about to say.
And he basically says, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
He makes some really horrific decisions. And the main character, Shinji, does some really horrific things. Mm-hmm. And it's literally, there's an interview, I want to say, with the writer saying, well, this is what you wanted. Like, literally, he's just saying,
no spoilers, Jeremy. Jeez.
Jeremy, come on.
Come on, Jeremy.
Cool. I'm trying to keep it broad.
So if there's no penguins, I'm going to be disappointed.
No, Brett, there is a penguin. There's
a penguin. There's a penguin. The penguin is possibly my favorite character.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, I'm mostly irritated by what it could have been. And the fact that in my mind, there's so much potential here for really cool stuff with the evil secret society. And we're and it looks like the dad is going to do some really cool thing. And he's got the one alien, and then there's the other alien. And if you get them together, something happens. I don't know. And this stuff with Rey, we don't really talk about the cool things going on with Rey. Like, she's pretty creepy.
You and I will have a conversation about Evangelion after, because you're doing such a good job not saying stuff for Brad. I love it. Like,
don't spoil this show.
Apparently, we need to separately, or maybe we just need to watch it and then come back.
I love that.
I talk about it because
the next time I will have watched the whole thing.
It's not long.
No, it's not.
You can watch it. It has you may not like it because it was a moment in time, but it has one of the most iconic anime opening songs of all time.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, so it's sad. I take the whole thing away to say I'm sad. It became what it was.
But I think we've all experienced that with certain TV shows, right? I think there are plenty of TV shows where the showrunner or the writer kind of gets to a certain point and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna go left as opposed to right. Like, I think about The Wire season 4, and I think about like specifically what they do with McNulty that whole last season and how everything just totally flips. And it's like, yeah, that's because everyone wanted them to do something else. And I think in a certain sort of point, we have to sort of accept. And I'm not excusing the ending of Evangelion, but I'm just saying you have to accept that this is what the writer wanted. And as much as I wanted something different as an adult, you just say, hey, this is literally what they wanted to do, right? I mean, there are plenty of other shows that sort of end and they sort of peter out. Like, you have to say, oh, well, the studio told them that they couldn't do the show anymore or something else. Like, at the very least, when an anime ends, it ends on purpose. You have plenty of shows, like Carolyn says, where they go on infinitely, or they end, and then, like, Naruto is a great example. Well, Naruto comes to an end, and then what happens? Well, guess what? It's Naruto now, and he's older. So right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all this. And then guess what? Naruto happens, and then he has a kid, and it's Naruto. Right. But that's the same thing that happens with
I watched Zero. They're all those mega ones. I couldn't help but avoid. I avoided Evangelion without realizing how short it was, simply because the fandom was very irritating. But which that'll happen to Naruto.
Fandoms are always the worst. We've talked about this before.
Rick and Morty effect but nothing will be that bad. But it's the same. It's the same idea, and same thing. One Piece people aren't that irritating, and One Piece seems like a genuinely fun show. I'll give it that. If there are any of them, my husband's tried to get me into Bleach because he's like, well, season 1's really good. I'm like, okay, but that's not enough. I need a complete story. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think if anything, Carol, I would say if you can read the first book of One Piece, you'll get hooked because you see what they're trying to do. One Piece is all about broken people who actually then overcome their trauma and then go and do great things. The thing that I love about One Piece, and I've given One Piece to my 7-year-old son, and I'm like, you're going to read this book. And I don't tell him to read books. I'm like, you're going to read this book with me. We're going to read this because it is every single character in that show has dealt with something tragic happening to them. And then they realize, I'm not going to let this define me. And then they use that to go and be better people. And then constantly, that's the message of the show. And they'll be dealing with bad guys. And the bad guys are like, my mother never loved me. And that's the reason I became the Pirate Lord. And then Luffy's like, guess what, dude? Everyone cries. And that's totally fine. Punch. So good. It's so good. But I've also not watched the show because I know the manga is so good. I'm hesitant to watch the show because I'm worried that I'm going to see stuff get stretched out real far and it's going to get thin. So I'm hesitant. Well, bye, Carolyn. We'll see you later.
Yeah, we lost her.
We lost her.
She may be back. I don't know. Seems like her connection just dropped out.
Oh, yeah, she'll be back. So, Brad, let's do a quick check.
Okay.
We've been talking about anime so far.
Yes.
Are you enjoying yourself?
I am very much.
Good.
Although not a lot of love for Samurai Pizza Cats, I'm feeling, which is a little sad.
Sad.
I get it. Mm-hmm. Also, probably not technically an anime. I'm not sure.
I don't think it is. I don't technically think it is. Unfortunately, I got to figure out what this swim anime about kid. Or was it a Toonami show? Folks, thanks for waiting. We don't want to lose Carolyn permanently.
Oh, hopefully. We're trying to get her back. We'll
try to get her back, folks. Not Astro Boy. Damn.
Apparently, I need to watch Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon is really good, dude.
I've definitely seen like a few random episodes when I was a kid, but like, oh yeah, her internet died. So hopefully she'll be back soon. But
no. She lives in Texas, right?
She
got
does
some
live
weird
in
stuff
Texas.
going on there. Brad, the fact that you pulled this on me is so good. You played it so cool.
She's back.
She's back.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Both stopped talking at the same time. This is me. This is going to be me. And my entire thing shut down and all my internets went away. So I have no idea what happened.
Jeez.
Normally down here, Texas is very unstable compared to the Northeast. And I assume Chicago too, because we're just used to weather there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot.
there is. When Texas gets real weather, it gets strange.
It can't handle it. Even thunderstorms will knock out the power here. Like
Crazy.
just because I will say the thunderstorms are more intense here, but we don't have one right now. So I was very confused. I don't know. I hear nothing. There's silence. You would know.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. You were mid-sentence.
We're all good. We're all good. I tried to do a quick search to figure out what that show was that I watched about the young crass kid, and I can't figure it out yet. So
did you? I've been meaning to ask you. Did you have a chance to watch Gurren Lagann?
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm only about 3 episodes in, only because Demon Slayer has really sucked me in.
I started that on vacation.
I really, really like Demon Slayer. There is something about Demon Slayer. The protagonist's name, who I can't remember. He's so sweet.
He's very positive.
He's a very positive boy. And I like sweet boys. It makes me feel good as a sweet boy. And he's a sweet boy with a sword, and he's trying to take care of his sister.
He's like, I probably can't do this, but we're gonna try. It's a lot of that.
I love that.
It's very wholesome, given that it's about demons and it starts off with his whole family being murdered. That's not really. It's a premise.
Wholesome.
Yeah, like literally first 5 minutes. Like it's rough.
It is. It's really, really rough. And like, as opposed to another show, I actually like comparing it to My Hero Academia, as opposed to like.
I have not watched that. Actually,
that's also on my list. I haven't watched it.
Midoriya is this character who, again, so the concept of My Hero Academia is 80% of the population has superpowers of the entire world, right? And everybody, that's just the world that we all live in. People have powers, and you know, some people go to school so they can go be heroes, and then there are support heroes, and they're like, but everyone does
support.
Yeah,
you're a sidekick, honey. Yeah,
you're a sidekick, and people.
You're a healer.
You're excited about it.
Yeah,
and that's what there's in fact even heroes that are about like they're almost like engineer heroes, and then there are heroes who are like manager heroes. So it's like, again, there's like a whole economy to it, right?
Okay.
So Midoriya is this kid who doesn't have powers. He grew up and he doesn't have powers, and he's really all he wants to do is be a hero. And everyone in his class has powers, and they're going to go and try and get into UA, which is the big school for where all the best heroes are. And all he wants to do is go and get that. And it's kind of about his experience dealing with the fact that he doesn't have powers. And maybe you don't need powers to be a hero. That's the whole concept.
Okay. So it's like the opposite of One Punch Man. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I think One Punch Man is also a really, really, really good anime, but I feel like you need to One Punch Man is so satirical about
you
anime.
need to know anime to enjoy it.
You need to know what they're referencing to understand it, or else you're like, I don't understand this because
Yeah.
He just punches the one time. That's
yeah. Like it's not just about him. Every single character is a trope in one way or another, and it is amazing. It is amazingly well done. And a lot of them are based on real, like Moomin Rider is like a real, based on a real guy or a real hero that exists somewhere in Japan. Yeah. I love him. He's my favorite. He's
so good. He's
just
so
a good guy. Is one of their classes of heroes. They belong to an association. They get paid. And this one guy, it doesn't spoil it. He just is one guy as part of, the superhero, I forget what it's called, association. And he's the head of the C League. So it's CBAS. And he's the top, I want to say, of C. And his name is Moomin Rider. And he's just a guy on a bicycle who shows up to do good things.
That's it.
He doesn't have powers. And he shows up to fight like full on sea monsters. He doesn't care. He has like the best heart. He's like, I'm probably going to die, but I'm here. Someone needs to help. So here I go. He's the best. He's such a good guy. That getting to a point where you can watch, I would say read again One Punch Man. I get the impression, not the online. So it's originally as an online comic and it's drawn very badly because he doesn't draw.
He doesn't.
It's kind of a joke. And that's why he's bald. If you've ever noticed that, I really think it's just because he didn't want to draw hair.
I mean, hey, go work with your strengths. Right?
But he did get a full-on artist to do the manga. But I've heard that season 2, so the manga and season 1 align very closely, but I've heard season 2 of the anime is not that good, but the manga continues to be very good. So
the manga is fantastic.
So maybe just go with the manga. It's still coming out though, which, as I've expressed, I hate. So I watched. What else did I watch? What have you watched recently that you like?
Well, that Rin one's pretty good so far. I watched the first couple episodes of Gunslinger Girl, which was
Gunslinger Girl.
Watch Trigun. I don't know. I'm so old.
Trigun?
Yeah, Trigun.
Watch these old ones.
It
was better in my day. We walked uphill both ways to get anime.
I watched a little bit of one of the recent seasons of Sword Art Online. I'd seen like the first season. I don't know how.
I think it's universally understood that Sword Art Online is like meh.
Yeah,
it's not that great.
I was just like, this is still a thing. And I watched a couple of like, okay, I don't know what's going on and I don't care enough.
Sword Art Online is something that I think Netflix invested in it before they understood what people, that it was actually not that great.
That makes sense.
I think that's why there's a 2.
Yeah.
And I watched the first episode of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Ooh, yes! What do you think about that, Brad?
What do you think about that? I definitely need to watch more.
Scarring and horrific, right?
Yeah, but that's whatever. That's fine. It's wholesome stuff.
It is. Brotherhood is so good. It's so good.
Really,
I've heard
amazing story.
I heard a bunch of people say like that's the version. Like if you're gonna watch one of them or whatever, like just go right to Brotherhood.
Yes. So
like, okay, I don't know what the differences are, but sure, Brotherhood it is.
So that's a classic example of Full Metal Alchemist. Originally came out 2 decades ago, and it was an amazing manga. The anime kicked right in. They caught up to the manga, and then they made it up. So there's a ton of filler, which is not in Brotherhood, and B, Brotherhood is, now that the manga is complete, let's go back and remake the anime and actually like make a good anime that matches the story of the manga. Whereas in the original Full Metal Alchemist, it had a lot of filler, and they made it up to a certain point, and then, which wasn't even that far. I want to say it was like 1/4 of the way through the actual story, maybe a third. And then they just went off and made their own thing. I shit you not, Winston Churchill is in the finale of the original Full Metal Alchemist. That's how far off the fucking rails that went.
Okay.
I cannot. Do not. You're on the right path.
Okay,
it can go really.
I'm glad that the internet is definitely trustworthy and led me down the
It can go really
path.
bad when they try and make it themselves.
Yeah, I think the thing that we have to remember is, again, like we're receiving this sort of like tangentially. Like what's so hard for us is like, because it's an imported product. Like we we're just so eager to just consume this stuff. It doesn't matter if it's sea level or anything else like that. But I feel like in Japan, it is so integrated in terms of, Shoujin Jump. Like, people are so furious when things aren't happening. Like, you hear about people being upset about how Attack on Titan is happening right now in terms of like the anime and the manga coming out at the exact same time and them struggling with it. Like, I think we just struggle because it's like, where it's like, oh, it's just cartoons. It's just so fun. Like, as opposed to in Japan, it's like, no, this is like, this is as good as the main forms of content that you're going to be having in terms of like your NBC television or your Marvel your Marvel TV shows. Like, this is up there because people are they just want it so much. That's the reason why they're like, nope, we're just going to go on our own. Like, it's not like, I don't know, let's figure something out. They're like, we're selling toys, we're selling TV shows, we're selling books. I don't really care. It's all just about the merchandising because people just want it so much.
Yeah, it's Attack on Titan's a really interesting case as well. Yeah. I want to say I guess I'd call it a half season behind on the anime compared to the manga. And when the manga ended, people were mad. People were really upset with the ending. Attack on Titan is one of those ones that took a lot of things by storm. It's actually very similar, not thematically and structurally, very similar to Claymore, except that I would say there's a lot of parallels there. And if you read it, I think you would agree. It's except that the whole last season where you actually delve into the world is not, we don't have that in Claymore. Claymore stays very centered on what happens, but it's like the island and there's a whole world and there's like, it starts very focused on a very specific problem with a very specific enemy. And then you learn that there are mechanisms in place around that. And you learn that there's an connected tissues to the rest of the world, which play into this very initially small in, focused antagonistic relationship that the hero has with something and where it goes from there. I found them to be very similar, and that's why I liked Attack on Titan so much. And why but I think a lot of people get really thrown off with the final season.
Yeah, I'm taking my time through Attack on Titan because I started watching Attack on Titan the first season and I liked it okay, but it just was taking itself too seriously. Like, it was just like, okay, I get it. I went back and I started reading the manga and I really, really liked it. And I've been waiting to sort of finish the manga to then come back to it. Carolyn, would you suggest not doing that, just watching the show? Or
I haven't read the manga, so I don't know, actually. I've only watched the show because what happened was I really liked Attack on Titan when it first came out. I did think that. I'm sorry, I'm not spoiling anything. I don't want to spoil it for Brad, but I just want to make sure.
Don't ruin it. It's on the list.
I know, I won't. There's the whole part where you first meet Squad Levi and all the shit that happens there. I was like, really? Like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was, and then it ends and you're like, okay, what? And then there was like a 2-year break. I was like, okay, well, bye, and the really interesting stuff happens after that, in my opinion, with, what happens, with rituals and
you're doing again a great job.
You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Faith dude. That was that was so cool. Sorry, I'll stop. That was very interesting. And I found that whole thing very cool. And I didn't get back into it until like 2019. And I went back and tried to capture some of it and kind of go forward from there. And pick back up into it. So again, I really prefer things to be complete because I will just binge it until it is done. Yeah. And so these really long ones, like, God, I spent a whole summer trying to watch Inuyasha, and Jesus Christ.
Oh, Inuyasha's tough. Inuyasha's really tough.
I got to like episode 108 and I was like, nah. You still haven't gotten even like 4. You still have 1 million of these crystal shards to go. I no. Well, I think that did end though, didn't it?
It did. That's the thing that I really like about Naruto specifically is Naruto is my show that I go to when I want to multitask, right? When it's like, all right, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I know the baby's going to wake up eventually, so I'm just going to stay up. I'm gonna like play like a card game. I'll play some Hearthstone or something else and watch some Naruto. So like it's on and I'm watching it. It's how some people watch like The Office, right? Like some people like just have The Office on and it just makes them feel good. Naruto, and there are a lot of anime that are like that, where you're like, you don't have to be like actively 100% paying attention to it, because again, I watch Naruto and I watch it with the dub. I don't need to watch it with the sub. And there's some people who would argue saying, hey, you're not really getting the real version, but it's Naruto, right? And I'm not going to say Naruto. I'm going to say Naruto. So for anybody who's going to come at me, yes.
I say Naruto because that's the first way I learned to say it. And I said Chickaboo for Final Fantasy VII. I don't know where I came up with the I. It's literally not there. I said Tifa. I said all kinds. We all said shit. It's fine. Yeah. You're fine.
Good. Brad, I'm curious for you with the anime that you've watched so far, because there are sort of like different, you know, you get your Shojin, you get your sort of like mech suit like Gundam stuff. Is there a anime that you're enjoying so far?
Are you noticing styles?
Yeah,
styles, plot lines, focus.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you're still taking it.
I'm still exploring and
you'll
enjoying the confusion of the first few episodes of everything. So far, I haven't absorbed enough of one thing, I think, to really figure out what styles I like. Does it make me a plebe, though, that I almost exclusively watch the dubs?
No,
not at all.
Not at all. It doesn't.
No, I would only say, I think if you had a gatekeeper who was like, oh, well, if you're not watching the dubs, then you're like, all right, well, that's how you like to watch it. That's fine. Yeah. You know,
unless the dub's bad. Like, I don't know. If you can listen to it, you're fine. You know what I mean? It's personal preference entirely.
Carolyn, a question for you. I'm going to say 3 words, and I would like you to react to these 3 words.
Okay.
That's not how questions work.
It is a question.
I don't think that's a question. Yeah, I think you need to reevaluate the definition of question. Okay.
Yuri on Ice.
Okay, I've never seen it. I don't know. Every time I hear Yuri, I think like Yuri. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, is that what that is?
Yuri?
That seems complicated to do it on ice. Why? It seems uncomfortable. I don't understand. Mm-hmm. Yuri is the opposite of yaoi, Brad.
Yes.
So is that what that is? I've never seen it. Very confused.
Okay. Yuri on Ice is a lovely, lovely anime that I would definitely suggest you both watch, about a young man who's an ice skater who is struggling to compete, and then he watches another young man ice skate and he's inspired, and he goes and competes, and then he does really well, and then the young man that he watches says, you know what, I'm going to be your coach, and then they slowly fall in love. But are they in love? Yes.
So it should be yaoi on ice.
It should be yaoi on ice. Yes. It should be yaoi.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. It is wonderful. It is sweet, and it's wholesome. And I like, again, we're talking so much of the shoujo stuff, and we're like, oh, it's all about action. There is also the like, no, it's just like 2 people talking anime. Like, there's so much anime that's just like, no, I'm a high schooler and I don't know if I'm ever going to fall in love, and I just write in my journal, and it's like a Murakami novel. And I like that stuff a lot as well. Like, I think so much of anime is going to be this very action forward sort of stuff, but there is a lot of anime. You know, I think about Studio Ghibli. I think about Your Name. There's plenty of stuff that's out there that I think is actually, yeah, exactly. Where it's like, no, it's sweet. It's like a, you know, like an indie book or an indie movie, right? Like, it's like just about people exploring their feelings. And a lot of times those shows are so heartbreaking because it's like, oh yeah, and then school got done, and then he moved away, and I never found out where he went, and I had to go back to school the next year, and you know.
And you know, it's a weird, a kind of a weird mindfuck mix of both is FLCL.
I've never watched that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've got that to watch.
Season 1. Seasons 2 and 3 are bizarre. But I mean, and by FLCL standards, even bizarre, which doesn't mean anything to you, but will. But season 1, for the most part, for absolutely, season 1 is like up there with Cowboy Bebop level, like classic, legendary, amazing, universally pretty much loved. I mean, there are people who are like, it's confusing, but it's not. It's about growing up. It's in that same vein of Miyazaki stuff, but less simply presented. But there's also like a ton of action. It'll switch between literally, it's like there are different universes, and a girl shows up and pulls guitars out of people's foreheads that represent their ego and their penis size. Like it is
sounds totally normal and simple.
But then it's also like these, this girl this kid dealing with what it means to grow up and his relationships with his classmates and the classmates. It's also very much a character study for them. And this girl that he has an older brother who moved away, and there's this other girl who's clinging to him because she really liked the older brother, and she's possibly homeless. There's like a lot going on. It is bonkers. It's only 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes.
It's bonkers. It's got a phenomenal soundtrack by a band called Bulldog Mansion, who is a Japanese punk band. Kind of punk. They're great, but I very much enjoy them, and I think that they're fantastic. And also the pillows. There's some pillow stuff in there too. But it's a fantastic show, and it's absolutely worth checking out as far as like some of the older school stuff goes. But it's an interesting mix of, to your point, a lot of them are very focused on like they're fight anime that even if they don't require fighting, they're still called fight anime, where it's like, oh, I'm going to be the best chef that ever was. And then it shows them learning a new technique every time, or like pick a thing and there's an anime about it. And those are all fight anime. This is not that. This is there is fighting, but it is much more, it's really representative about the emotional growth and the emotional development and exploration of this. I want to say he's like 10-year-old. And it's great. It's fantastic. It's really introspective while also being bonkers. So
yeah. I mean, there's obviously, there's lots and lots of anime out there that's more geared towards the very atypical, female audience, which is like cutesy, chibi sort of stuff. But then again, again, there's shoujin and there's shoji, and like there's lots and lots of different stuff where you can watch that way. But there is a lot of stuff that's in between that is going to have the same sort of elements and growth and character development out there that is really, really fun. It's great. It's so nice to talk about this.
What was the next thing you were going to prompt me?
Oh, that was it. I was just going to talk about Yuri on Ice, really. That was just going to be
it. You said 3 words were Yuri on Ice. Oh, yes. I see. My fault.
No, you're good.
I guess I'll have to check it out. I definitely I've always heard about it, but I never knew what it was.
I think Yuri on Ice is really fun because it's a sport anime. So you think, oh, this is going to be about competition, but it's not about competition. There are competitive elements to it, but it's never about, oh, is he going to win? It's always about, boy, are they going to fall in love? Like, it is really interesting to kind of like to see the tension between this like young man who is not outwardly homosexual, but like definitely struggling with his own gender identity. And then his coach, who has been his rival for a very long time, suddenly being like, no, I'm going to actually make you a better person. And so you kind of get this sort of antagonist relationship. And then it's like, no, they in fact love each other in a really deep and meaningful way. And then you have to sort of ask yourself, it's like, oh, wow, it never gets sexual. It's never like, oh, are they going to go fuck? It's always like, no, I just want them to hug. And then you never know if they're going to hug or not. It's really good. Really, really good.
That sounds really cute.
It is. Brad, have you watched any of the Studio Ghibli movies? Would you consider that anime?
I've watched at least like a handful.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Ghibli stuff. What have you watched, Brad?
It's been a long time. The Howling Castle.
Howl's Moving Castle. That's my favorite one, actually. Yes, that's fantastic.
That's probably up there. Oh, now I got to look them up because my memory does not work.
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. What do you like about Howl's Moving Castle?
Well, I saw the characters and stuff. It's interesting how like I don't know, enemy is the right word. One of the bad guys like gets old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just
the Witch of the
arc.
Wastes.
Yeah, it's a weird, interesting arc.
That happens actually. I feel like it's a common thing within Miyazaki films. So similarly in Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what is her name? Baba something. You end up feeling her and that baby. Oh, that baby deserves to die. Yes. That baby goes through a whole arc and he doesn't have any lines except screaming.
But boy, you don't like that baby.
No.
Oh, no.
I've definitely seen Princess Mononoke, but probably like when it just came out. So
I would put it like the oldest age bracket. Like if we've got My Neighbor Totoro is like intro level Miyazaki in terms of like when you can let your kids watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Princess Mononoke is like 13, like 12, 13. It's a lot, I think.
It's a lot.
I would have been, it came out in the mid 90s. So I would have been at least 13, 14, whatever.
Yeah, it's just a little brutal. Mm-hmm. It's a little rough.
Carolyn, would you let your child watch Spirited Away before they watch Howl's Moving Castle? Which would be the movie that you would let them watch first? We already have. So hold on, let me think. Okay. We started with Totoro, obviously, because that's easy and it's so wholesome and like nothing happens. The mom's sick, and then the sister they go missing, and then they find her, and then they find her, and the mom's okay. Like, that's the whole movie. The whole movie, but it's still so good.
And then after that, it was Kiki.
Kiki's my son's favorite movie all time. My
so
son
wholesome, so nice. Yeah. I kept waiting for the boy to be like snobby rich kid, but he's not. He's actually like nice, and I remembered people as meaner than they were. People weren't mean to her. The meanest person is that little other witch in the beginning.
Yeah.
That little girl. Snob. She's such a snob. Oh my God. She's the worst. So then we did Kiki. I want to say we did Howl. They're both scary. I think Rob got I want to say we did Howl before Spirited Away. I think we acknowledged Spirited Away as being scarier overall. Something about the parents' transformation scene.
The parents.
So scary. Yeah. But with Howl, he's literally coming in through the black. He's a crow. He's freaking out. His whole layer changes depending on his physical presentation. There's some scary stuff in there, some disturbing energy. I mean, it's literally you're watching a war. There's bombs, all kinds of stuff like that. But something about the I think it's so personal.
It's the parents, yeah. It's also
horrifying.
It's because and I feel terrible that I don't remember the main protagonist's name in Spirited Away, but like she is abandoned with her parents' transformation in the beginning, and I think I felt that
way. Her fake name is Sen.
Yeah, Sen, exactly. There you are. Like
Chichiro.
Yeah, I would hate for my child or my children to watch that movie and think that could happen to my parents.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little much. Have you let your kid watch Ponyo?
Yes, we watched Ponyo because Ponyo I would put as the next one after Kiki. In terms of, I would say it's like Kiki and then Ponyo. The thing about Ponyo is that we only like it a little. We don't like it as much as the others. So we just were like, eh. We've also watched the one. It's less known. It's the guy's a pig. That was surprisingly entertaining. I had not seen that until we watched it for my son, who proceeded to just ignore and just go and do other stuff and can't focus at all. But I forget what it's called. But it's great, Brad. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so.
It takes place like they kind of all do in this nebulous, like 1930s. The ish time frame, like there's planes, but they're like old school prop planes.
Porco Rosso,
and that's what he goes by.
He's a pig.
He's literally a pig, and they acknowledge it. Everyone else is human, and they're like, "Oh, you got that curse, man. That sucks." And he's like, "Yeah," and like they don't say how it happened. He does. The arc has nothing to do with him being a pig. He does not get cured. And like there's
Just a pig. All right.
He's just a pig. It's. I feel like it's a troll. Like it is it is like one of the best things I watched. And actually, it's a fantastic film. I like the way it's written. I like the characters. There's a girl, a 17-year-old girl who is a full-on aerial engineer and builds him a whole plane, and is trusted to do so by her Italian grandfather, who is part of the same like shop. And that, I feel like that's a lot of barriers that are being broken. I love that. It was great. It's the same way that there's just this wholesome, you love what you're watching and you love
Jeremy, damn it.
Come on. Amazing.
That's
Jeremy,
Jeremy.
yes, that's a clap.
Jeremy. Wow.
We'll get it.
I don't think I can go on from that. Yeah, it's just that same level of Miyazaki fantasticnk. It's just, it's great. We did watch, the one last thing I will say here, we watched a film by Miyazaki's son.
Oh.
And I don't remember what it was called. And it was really bad. It was confusing. I felt bad. Apparently, Miyazaki himself got up and left halfway through the premiere.
Ouch. That's rough.
He's apparently kind of a dick. So
yeah.
But I kind of it's not good. It's confusing. No. So I don't. If you run into anything by the sun, I'm not sure. Enough. Not sure. I don't think it hasn't passed down.
Yeah, I feel like you have like Nausicaa, Valley of the Winds is sort of like, I will watch that movie. That's sort of like, I'm not going to introduce that movie to my kid. Like maybe when he's like a teenager, like, oh yeah, he made this other movie. It's good, but it's not up there.
Is that the one with the stuff in the sky?
Yeah, like it's like him doing Dune, right? Like that's what it is. It's like it's the most weird.
I think we watched it, but I fell out halfway.
Yeah,
I just was not.
That's also a one where it's like, and I've read issues of the original manga, and I'm like, boy, this is amazing. It doesn't translate. It's one of those where I'm like, if they made that again today, that would be really interesting. It's the same thing with Castle in the Sky. Castle in the Sky is one of those movies where I'm like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. I don't know if I like this, but it's an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Castle in the Sky I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I just didn't quite. I don't know.
Yeah.
He does so well with these very focused, character-driven, usually themed around growing up in some way, family-focused stories, and I think those are the really great ones for him to just really focus on. But I mean, who am I to tell somebody that? It's just in my experience. Yeah. Those are the ones where he's really nailed it in a way that I've never experienced with any other film.
And any other film. I could watch Kiki's Delivery Service every single day, and I would love it every single time. It is so good. And it also, if you watch the dub, you get to listen to Phil Hartman, and you can say, "God damn it, we lost him too early."
Fine. Right? Okay, I'll watch it.
It's so good.
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, we always for Miyazaki, we always watch dubs.
Yeah.
The dubs are always phenomenally done, especially Spirited Away. Holy crap.
Oh, Spirited Away's dub is really, really great.
I forgot that was Christian Bale. I was like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, Christian Bale's in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Howl's Moving Castle. Apologies. Yeah. And Billy Crystal. Like that combination is just.
Yeah, Billy Crystal is really, really good. Isn't it? Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And The Witch of the Waste, whoever she does her, is also phenomenally good. Yeah, just fantastic. They add so much life to those characters. And, I would say Howl's best moment is the hair fiasco. And yes. Bale does a good, the rest of the time he's just like cool, calm, collected, but like the hair is like, yes.
Yeah. When his hair gets messed up, you get to see, it's like, there he is. There's some acting.
Yeah. And he does a great job.
He like basically does the Batman voice in that movie too, doesn't he? Like,
he kind of does a little bit.
Essentially the Batman voice.
It's very smooth. Yeah. It's not that low fit. I hated his Batman.
No, but it reminded me of the Batman voice.
And also I get this intense. There's very much this like, well, that's the Batman. Val Kilmer didn't do that. Get out of here.
No, I mean like Christian Bale's version of the
was so bad.
It's the same, this has the same energy to me.
Same energy, less gravel. He speaks normally, just a little bit, just calm and smooth. which I can
Have you ever seen the dailies of Cillian Murphy doing Batman? Because he was Nolan's original take. He wanted Cillian Murphy to be Batman because he thought his Bruce would be fantastic, and the studio said no, we're not going to do that. Said all right, let me at least cast him in the movie.
Did they say why? Was it like a physical thing? Because he's kind of thin, but like
he's a very thin guy, and they just didn't believe him in the suit. But when you see him in the suit, it is the best of Kilmer and the Tim Burton Batman. Why am I blanking?
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and Keaton. It is like, oh, this works. This works. This is a continuation of that versus Bale, which is such a departure from the.
I mean, we're getting the what's his name for the next one.
Yeah, well, if that movie ever comes out, though.
Right, that's true. I want to see it. I need to see it now. Now that I know that this was considered, I have to see it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I found it on TikTok. I'll see if I can find it for you because it was really interesting to see him.
In the
suit.
Or Cillian?
Cillian. It's my name. It's Irish. It doesn't matter.
Fair. I mean, I love him. He's fantastic actor. Yeah. And he took what's his name, Scarecrow, and just ran with it. I mean, he made that character. And then in the third film, when he's like reigning over, I don't know if you remember this, when they get back into the city, he's like made his own courtroom and is like condemning people to death for nothing, like just for fun. It's just it.
Such a great, it's like that is such a cool little moment in the third movie, which has so many weird twists and turns and everything.
That's my favorite part, I think, of that whole trilogy. He's so good.
Yeah. Brad, any questions that you have about anime that Carol and I could fill in for you? Any random stuff we could talk about anime?
I don't know. I think I need to absorb a bunch of the animes that I've been told to watch now, and we'll have to come back and do a little Q&A.
Yeah, I like that.
You should probably watch Kenshin. The more I think about it, I feel like you might like Kenshin.
I think you like Kenshin. Do we consider Pokemon an anime, by the way?
The same, if you consider DBZ and Sailor Moon, then yeah, and if you don't, then no. In my opinion, it's in that same category.
Sure, I haven't seen much of that either. Random episodes.
You don't really need to.
You don't need to. Like, I don't think Pokemon adds anything to the larger. And this might seem strange, and I'm not reaching, but I mean, like, it doesn't add anything to the art form, right? Nobody's looking at what Pokemon is doing and saying, "Oh, let's do something else." Like, it's like, all right, that's its own wing, and they've got that covered. Versus, you can watch something like Bleach, and you can see, oh, somebody watched Bleach, and then they went and they did this show, and then they watched this show, and then they watched this show. Like it like that's the thing that I guess I like about anime is it's always building on the stuff that came before it. You can tell the main writers, oh, this is what they were reading when this was going on. Like, that's what's so interesting about One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. It's like One Punch Man comes out and you can tell that the author of My Hero Academia was like, oh, cool, I want to do that same idea, but this is high school. It's high school version of that. Like, how do we get into the C levels, the B levels, the A levels, the S levels? Well, they have to go to high school.
Is it that level of satire?
No, I don't think I think it's a little bit more genuine. I think it's a little bit more like, oh, like, you could imagine that One Punch Man and My Hero Academia exist in the same world, right? Like, in terms of the commodification of heroism, because Midoriya is so, like, he's so obsessed with heroes that he is the opposite of what is One Punch Man's name? Yeah, Saitama. Like, he is the opposite of it in the sense where it's like he knows everything about the ranks and everything that you have to do. I was supposed to Saitama is like, well, what do you mean? I'm the strongest. I'm the best hero in the world. What do you mean I'm only a C rank? Like, it's so funny that way in terms of what happens with One Punch Man versus My Hero Academia is a lot more about the almost like Dawson's Creek version of what does it mean to be a hero, that way of like dealing with high school stuff that way.
Yeah. That makes me think of My Hero Academia. I hear a lot not alongside, but I feel like I have it categorized in the same, where it's the type of thing where I've heard a lot about it and I'm interested vaguely, but I haven't quite gotten into it yet. But have you watched, there's another one there that this reminds me of, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. It's like Danganronpa?
Danganronpa, yeah. Danganronpa, like...
Is that like the one about a prison where people get killed?
Danganronpa is a little bit more like Battle Royale, though. That's what I sort of thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like that's up my alley. Like, I owned Battle Royale, the manga, which... oh my God. I have never read a more brutal manga in my entire life. There is literally like a monster penis fully depicted, like as a full panel in like with a mouth and everything. It's not, it is like exploitatively aggressive. Like it is to the point where you're like, really? You know, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's like 15. I think I finally got rid of it when we moved here because I was like, please tell me, because I had a whole complete manga set. You don't want to get rid of them when you have them, but like, it's also really like, at least with Berserk, when things happen that are terrible, it's first of all not constant. Second of all, part of a much larger story, and it's usually related to demons, and you know, like it's not. It feels like it's happening as part of the universe, and we do feel like there is a story of, you know, people. Battle Royale is just like, it's body horror. I just feel like it's really at that level, and I love, you know, in college, like it's super loved it. Like, oh my God, Battle Royale. But
it's closer to a Cronenberg movie than anything else. Like it is this sort of like this is just what it is, and you're like, I totally understand being like, do I need to bring this with me? I'm moving. Is this right? Is this that important that I'm going to move this across the country with me?
Like every single woman is essayed in some terrible, terrible way, and every dude is and then brutally murdered. Every dude is brutally murdered, and you know and it's all graphic and physical and shown, and all their backgrounds involve all of that too. Like they weren't just normal. Like, oh, these girls ran a prostitution ring. It's like what? These were ninth graders. I'm sorry. You know, it is insanity. And this girl killed her dad, and then her stepdad essayed her, and I can't. So it was a lot. But Danganronpa, I like that idea of being in a situation where it's, gosh, how do I put this? Like there was a movie called 13 Game of Death, which was like a Thai Viet maybe film that came out where it's like a guy has a, you know, you're playing this game and you win money but the challenges you have to do in the real world are like bigger and bigger each time, and that sort of stuff. And that's what it feels like to me, that type of it's almost like a Stephen King-esque scenario where it's like it's sort of supernatural, but it's maybe just like you're in a weird scenario and it's like a death-related game, which is why I liked Battle Royale. So it seemed similar to that, and I was curious if I haven't really looked up reviews, so I wasn't sure if you'd watched it or if you had any thoughts about it.
I only know Danganronpa from like tangential stuff, but I think it's definitely worth. If you like Battle Royale, I think it probably was going to instantly speak to you. It's a little bit more of a mystery, though. That's what I think about Danganronpa. It's a little bit more like, well, what is happening, as opposed to Battle Royale.
Oh, they don't know.
They don't know. They don't know what's.
Ooh, that's even better. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, you sold me. I'm gonna check that out then.
Excellent. Worth it. Definitely worth it.
Now, before we go. Yeah. Do we want to watch a video of John McAfee explaining how to uninstall McAfee antivirus?
Yes, we need
Can you? Is that possible?
We're going to find out on this video.
Yes.
R.I.P. a king.
Maybe.
Allegedly R.I.P. a king. R.I.P.
All right, here we go.
Fuck. Send. Oh, hello there. My name is John McAfee. I'm the founder of the McAfee antivirus.
Eccentric millionaire.
Although I've had nothing to do with this company for over 15 years, I still get volumes of mail asking, how do I uninstall this software? I have no idea.
Same. Oh my God, I love him. I'm so upset now.
So crazy.
I really need to quit. As I said, I've had nothing to do with McAfee software for over 15 years. I've had more pressing things to do. But recent events have made me change my mind. I've had, over the years, many responses from users who are complaining about the difficulty in removing the software. I'd like to read you a few things. Holy fucking shit. I was drawing for like 5 hours straight on this marvelous drawing, and I had to do a big-ass scan that slows the shit out of my computer. It was McAfee, of course. My computer is always really fast, but that son of a bitch has to come fuck it up. Here's another. My free trial for McAfee, or however it's spelled, expired. When it expired, it blocked Pornhub. Fuck McAfee. Fuck them in their stupid faces. I hope they all get dick and cunt rot and die a slow, agonizing death for limiting my porn use to Xhamster. No one should have to use Xhamster. I tried one final time and got the Urban Dictionary definition for McAfee. McAfee, a barely passable virus scanning program that updates at the worst possible times. Tends to render your computer completely useless whenever it starts an update, which it doesn't ask to start, and you cannot cancel or pause. McAfee updates at horrible times, almost like the creators want you to die. So I finally remembered how to uninstall McAfee antivirus software, and I've asked my friend Bartholomew to walk you through the steps. This is my lab tech, Bartholomew. He's going to take you through step by step the process of uninstalling the McAfee antivirus software. Say hello, Bartholomew. Yes, so if you need me, I'll be over here, and good luck.
The procedure for removing McAfee antivirus software from your computer is as follows. First, make sure you have a full backup.
Yes, Bartholomew, back it up. Back it up. That's right.
Yeah,
Very
John.
important. Back it up.
The bath salts.
Sir, should I be reading the instructions for the Mac or PC? They're really quite different.
He's looking at the tattoo.
Depending on which edition and version of McAfee's anti-malware software is installed on your computer, you may have to click on Remove, Uninstall, or a similarly named option to begin the uninstall process. When finished, reboot the system. John, are you getting this?
Yeah.
You may have to download McAfee Consumer Product Removal Tool. John?
Yes.
Does that sound about right?
Well, not completely, you know. I mean, it's always there. It's watching. It's been watching me for years. Every time I turn on the fucking computer, it's there looking at me. You know, something went wrong. 15 years ago, I had some beautiful software and they took it over. I don't know what they did. It's like the time I hired that Bangkok prostitute
You need a bendy
to do my
strap for your
taxes while I
coat,
fucked my accountant. It was terrible. The same fucking thing is going on now. But I know what to do. I know exactly what to do. Believe me, I've got a fucking solution right here.
Yeah. This is who Richard Branson wants to be, wishes he was.
Exactly.
Like, this is the ideal.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
Oh,
He just did that for funsies.
for fun.
Like,
For fun.
Yeah,
That's who
just-
he is.
no one
Because-
asked for that.
No.
Definitely
Oh.
not. I am sure that nobody wanted that to exist except for him.
Adult Swim 4 a.m. could probably have run that.
Maybe.
I will say that. It needed to be a little longer,
Mhm.
but that's up there with Too Many Cooks and
Yeah, that's a too many
unedited
cooks.
Sure.
unedited footage of a bear.
I had an idea for a podcast that I wanted to do years ago here in Chicago, where I would play John McAfee, and I was trying to assassinate Abraham Lincoln. That was the point of it. The idea was I knew that someone had gone back in time and prevented the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and had created an alternative timeline, and only I, John McAfee, by using my intelligent brain, my very, very large cock, could travel through time, and then it would be me as John McAfee essentially doing a quantum leap sort of thing where I would go into all of these different timelines until I got to the Civil War. And it would be me as John McAfee having to talk to different historical people. I wrote a couple episodes and I tried recording a couple, and it's just every time I would explain who John McAfee was, people were like, the antivirus guy? And I was like, yeah. And they were like,
Technically, yes.
yes, technically, yes. And they're like, but why would he want to kill Abraham Lincoln? I'm like, you don't just read the script, okay? Be a good actor and read the script.
That sounds amazing to me.
Right? And I gave it to a couple of people, and they were like, if you know who John McAfee is, this is hilarious. If you don't know who John McAfee is, this is the most insane thing ever. And I was like, well, who knows? Brad, maybe I will grab the script and we will read it together on another episode. You can see how fucking bonkers this was. Yes.
How many characters do we need? We could get enough people to do like a reading of it.
Oh, we could. I would probably need maybe 6 people max. We could easily do it.
We could do that. Yeah.
It'd be just like redacted. We could easily do it that way. It'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn, we are at the end of our time. I know it's insane that it moves this quickly.
I know. Shocking.
I'm so pleased that you were here with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jeremy's in.
Oh, so Jeremy's in. Okay, so Jeremy's
perfect.
In. Where we go?
We have the 4 of us. We need an authentic Australian accent.
Perfect. There we go.
I love Australian accents.
Oh,
doesn't exist.
And Kiwis.
Australia's fake.
Mm-hmm.
Really? I mean, it does. That would explain why everything there wants to kill you, including probably Jeremy.
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I haven't met him in person yet.
Yeah, we haven't given him that chance.
No.
But
he could just be an AI. We don't know that yet.
That's true. Well, thank you guys for having me on.
I've seen video of him and had conversations. So the AI, it would have to be good, but possible. I mean,
it's a deep fake. Carolyn, thank you for being here. This has been absolutely wonderful. I can't speak for Brad, but I know I admire you as a creator, and it's amazing to be able to sit here and to talk with you about anime. And I hope that if anybody's still watching, that if they have any questions for us, that they can definitely reach out. Any show that we've talked about, you should just go and watch unless we've said don't watch. Like, if you're confused watching this show, like us talking about, like, this has been so inside baseball. We have not explained anything. Like, we've explained a little bit, but we're just like, no, let's go. All of it is so funny. You should definitely go and watch any of the shows. If anything, like, oh, that sounds interesting, go and watch it. It's all good.
When in doubt, give it a few episodes.
Yeah, do like Brad. Just like, all right,
just like whatever. 3 episodes of this, 4 episodes of this. Whatever.
I don't know how you do that. That's one thing that I do not get. Like, I cannot watch
getting high at
multiple.
2 a.m. You've seen the messages. Come on.
No, yes, I have, but and that's part of the reason why the show does not normally go fast for me. Is usually that's the situation, and time does not. Time expands by 3 times for me in those scenarios, but I cannot jump.
Yeah, I broke.
No.
Yeah, you can. Well, then now who are we going to get to read?
We'll figure it out.
But I can't jump from show to show in this unless it's a conscious well, I'm working out, I watch this. Mm-hmm. When I need background and I've watched this, or at night before bed I watch this. But let me do some of this and then some of that. No, we're in this to win it or until I eventually give up, which rarely happens because I'm stubborn.
Well, I have to say, as soon as I started the Rin one, that's the only one that I've watched.
The Rin one. Wait.
That was the time travel one.
Rin, the time travel, whatever. I don't know what the full title is. It's some crazy thing. But that's the only one I've watched consistently since I've started it because it actually hooked me. But it's only a couple more episodes. So.
Oh, yeah. Then finish it out. Whatever.
Should be on to the next thing pretty quick.
Or do whatever. You live in chaos. It's fine. You're shockingly calm, but I feel like your life is actually chaotic. I don't know.
Quite quick. Yeah.
It's either 100% control or I let chaos reign. Anything in the middle drives me completely up the wall. So chaos is easier most of the time. So
mental health first.
Let that happen.
It's a good plan.
Good.
I like it.
So
well, thank you guys again for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
What a fantastic surprise.
Once I watch a bunch more anime, you'll have to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Why I'm wrong about liking the things that I like and hating the things that I hate.
Well, I think
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about fruits? We have 2 minutes.
Bananas are berries. That's all I'm
But bananas are awesome. So
they are. I agree.
Why are they berries?
Because the seeds are on the inside. That's why they're a berry. Well, I mean, I guess. Well,
so an avocado is a berry too?
Technically, right?
And a tomato's a berry, a tomato's a fruit, and it's therefore a berry. Mm-hmm. My issue was not with the berries thing. It was specifically with the fact that somebody ranked berries as number 2. You can't just say weird, berries. Yeah. That's cheating.
That's a category of things.
You have to specify. That was my issue.
Carolyn, before we go, real quick question: how do you feel about butter? How do you feel about the whole butter situation?
Oh, and